Hello everyone and welcome back guys to something a little bit different. Now, as you guys will have probably known for those of you that follow my main channel, I've been recently getting into Assetto Corsa, most notably obviously with my Formula 2 career mode, but I really wanted to sort of do a lot more of drive a lot more on Assetto Corsa on the whole, so I decided I'd get involved in SimRacingSystem. Now, it's a brilliant piece of software. You know, if you're on Assetto Corsa on PC, I would highly recommend looking into it. Basically what it is it allows an iRacing style of format on Assetto Corsa, Race Room, R-Factor 2 and Automobilista. Now, unfortunately, the other three, from what I gather, are basically dead. I think Automobilista still has a little bit going on, but I know, for example, Race Room, you're lucky if you get 2 people in a race, and R-Factor, I don't think they've actually done anything on there in like a year. So basically, it's Assetto Corsa nowadays, and obviously, luckily for me, that's what I want to play at the moment. Now, what they do, obviously, like I said, for those of you that don't play iRacing or aren't aware of iRacingSystem, is they host races, you know, every single hour. Each week, obviously you race in like I know in iRacing it's a 13-week season, but on this it's like a 5 or 6 week season overall. But yeah, basically you can race as many times in the week as you want, and like your best result is carried over and things like that. But you know, each week there's 6 different races. So I decided, you know, first of all, I do want to try and get involved in quite a few of these. But first of all, I decided I'd race in the GT3 Asian series. Now, it's not just Asian tracks. It is actually, I think this is the only Asian track on the calendar. It is actually meant to be Asian in terms of the time zone, which, well, by the looks of it, based on everyone that's registered their nationality on this team, no one from Asia has shown up. It's basically all Europeans in this race, which is a little bit interesting. But yeah, this is at Okayama in the GT3 cars. I've actually gone with the Glickenhaus SCG009, if I'm not mistaken. It's a bit of a different car. I think it's only really in Assetto Corsa, but Glickenhaus is best house, in my personal opinion there. So that's why I've gone with it. You know, it is, I genuinely don't think I've ever actually seen anyone else drive it, ever. So, as you can see in this lobby, it's mainly sort of McLarens, Porsches, Ferraris, BMWs, all that sort of thing. I do like to change it up, so I'm going to run with the Glickenhaus for the Asian series. I'm tempted to do the European series as well, but, you know, I'll probably go with something different for that, because I just want to drive different cars in GT3 at the moment as well. But yeah, we would start in my very first race in the GT3s, up in, I think, P7 in the end, so we were basically just halfway in the grid, you know, starting right in the mid-pack. You know, it's a very, very difficult turn run as well to try and keep it clean, so hopefully we just don't get Forza open lobbed in towards turn 1 here. But yeah, we're here for an hour of Okayama. Used to be the Pacific Grand Prix, if I'm not mistaken. The last time Senna ever got pole would be around this circuit as well, so there's a little bit of fact for you guys. But yeah, as I said, an hour-long race. It should be a one-stop, but a very, very tight one-stop around here. You can just about get the car to about 31 minutes overall, which is obviously really, really critical, obviously, because if you do a 2-stop, you're basically out of good points on the whole. But here we are then on the grid. It is 6 red lights here in Okayama, and it is lights out, and finally away we go there, and that's not been a particularly good start from myself. It doesn't seem like many people have been able to capitalise on that. We've got a Fiat on the outside, but unfortunately, as we come in towards turn 1, we just got completely destroyed. I'm not too sure if it was the BMW behind me that just locked up. I'd be impressed if he locked up with ABS, to be honest. Or whether it, you know, was ping as well. Unfortunately, as I said, it's all Europeans on this. Yeah, it's hosted on a US server. That was probably the one big complaint I'd have with this race, was just the pings for every... Like, I think that you can see the ping in the top right-hand side of your screens. You know, that's my ping. 120 is yellow, or 121 is red. I was the only person that was, you know, sort of bouncing between yellow and red. Everyone else's pings was like 180 or higher on the whole, probably because, as I said, I was probably the closest person to the US as well. So yeah, a little bit unfortunate in that sense. But still, you know, even though we got completely screwed at turn 1, we've still got a good long race ahead of us to try and move our way back up through the order here. So, you know, we start at P7. The aim would probably be to finish, you know, sort of around P7. You know, we've got an hour to try and get back up to where I felt our pace was really at, which is obviously really, you know, it gives us plenty of time to do it. As we come through the next few corners, though, we've got another 2 cars off there. That's a BMW and a Ferrari, if I'm not mistaken. So that moves us straight back up into P13 of this race. A 16-car grid. I think one person didn't actually start the race, which is a bit unfortunate. But yeah, so a 15-car race effectively there, and we're now already back up into P13 of this race as well. So this is, you know, going all right so far in the early stages, even though obviously we are holding quite a bit of damage on the car as well, but, you know, that should... but, you know, we can get that sorted in the pit stops, especially with the Assetto Corsa. The damage is, I think, on 60% for this race, so it shouldn't actually affect us all too much as well. In the background as well, you might be able to hear Crew Chief. Obviously, for those of you that have, like, watched some of my other sim racing content, for example, I think the only time I've ever used it prior to now is in the Race Room WTCR event as well. I'm a big fan of Crew Chief. It's really, really good to use as well. You know, of any sort of league racing like that I do on PC nowadays. If I can use Crew Chief, I pretty much will for sort of proper competitive racing, which is obviously really, really important. But as we move on, though, to lap 2, we've now got a Porsche that's had a little bit of an incident with someone else getting involved in our battle. So obviously it's important that we try and find our space on the road. They're almost going to try and go 3 wide in towards this heavy braking zone at the hairpin. That's certainly not going to work. The Nissan runs horrifically deep on the way. You can see, I think that's the BMW of Mark running almost into the back of him there. But it's all getting a bit too tight there. The Porsche, unfortunately, just gets span ever so slightly there. Mark's just not going to go on the exit there, so we're going to be able to fly right around his outside through the next corner there. A little bit of a weird move, and then he goes and spins it. Anyway, so it wasn't like we were applying too much pressure there. But I think, yeah, this Oliver guy, his ping was absolutely horrific, unfortunately. It was, well, basically unraceable, as you're going to see in just a moment here. We're trying to look around the outside in towards the final couple of corners here, but out in through these final couple of sweeping right-handers here. That first was really nice when you get it right, but really difficult to do so, and then drop it back down into third gear. You can see we let off and still get absolutely murdered there. I think, as I said, that was lag, so we're now going down the front straight backwards. I tried to flick it back round, and then this guy would still not just give me any room, so just span himself instead. So I'm not really too sure what to make of that. And that's how you give people room if they're spinning, you know, trying to get back on. In hindsight, I probably should have just stayed on the other side of the circuit, but, you know, I wanted to get the car pointing in the right direction. I really felt, you know, there's plenty of space to do so. It wasn't like there was any other cars coming at particularly high speed either, so, you know, I think that was just horrible latency and ping by the man in the Porsche there, so very, very unfortunate for him. But yeah, over these next few laps, then we sort of just try to gain a bit of consistency. You might hear Crew Chief in the background saying I'm leading. The Glickenhaus isn't technically a GT3 car. It's allowed in all the GT3 racing. It's got the same spec as a GT3 car, but technically it's not. But still, you know, the less said about that, the better there. But we do move past another Ferrari there of Santos to move back up into P10, so obviously that's quite important at this stage of the day, and then we're all over the back of Roberto as well in the Porsche. So mainly, as I said at the start, you know, Porsches, BMWs, Ferraris in these races. I think there was a couple of McLarens up towards the front of the field here. But yeah, the Glickenhaus technically isn't a GT3 car. I think it's an SP9 car. It basically only ever races at Nordschleife in like some of the Nürburgring, like some of the endurance races that are 4 hours, I think, and things like that. So yeah, that's sort of why I like to race it elsewhere, because you never really sort of get to see it in anything. I know it's not, as I said at the start, particularly common choice. I think it might be a bit weak in terms of this car class as well, but you know, if I've got an opportunity to drive it, you know, I like to try and go for the weird and wonderful car choices as well. But yeah, we're still applying the pressure to this Porsche at this stage of the day. He made a bit of a mistake as we came out in towards the final sector of the lap there, and we do go right around his outside. He does send it back down the inside though, clearly not happy to lose that overtake there, but we do keep it right around the outside. It will be the inside for the next hairpin here. We're going to park it on the apex, don't allow him to go for the switchback move, and we will now move back up inside the top 10 there, up into P9 once more of this race. So yeah, slowly but surely making my way back up through the order. But as I said, you know, a lot has happened inside the first 10 minutes of this race as well here. But honestly, from then on out, we really would just have a very quiet first stint of the day. We would slowly be closing up to the back of Hella and Delano as we came in for our one and only, hopefully, only pit stop of the race, and we would try and go for a bit of an undercut on the pair of them here, you know, see if the fresh tyres can really help me out. I was struggling on this old set of rubber as well there, but we would dive it into the pit lane just about get the car somewhat slowed down in the box. I'm not too sure if cars are ghosted in the pit lane. I think they might be, but it wasn't a risk I was willing to take in this race there. A fairly slow pit stop on the whole, but obviously with how much damage we were trying to get sorted on the car as well, it wasn't too surprising, you know, that you really, you know, we didn't have to worry about the tyres and fuel from that one there. But yeah, a lot of damage to try and get rid of, but then at least in the second half of this race we can be quicker and more consistent there. But there we are then, we're exiting the pit lane now, and we will be back down into P10 here, so clearly a lot of guys having to make their first pit stop a little bit earlier than they probably would have liked now as we come out of the pit lane once more. 31 minutes to go. We should be able to take this through to the end of the race here. And as you can see, just a couple of laps later, though, it did appear like this undercut had worked out quite well for myself. As we come back out of the pit lane here, I think we're going to be out right behind Hella here. So this has really worked out quite nicely for myself. You know, that undercut, we really didn't feel like we'd lose too much pace towards the end of this race as well here. So yeah, that undercut really did seem like a wise choice in the end. We were a little bit quicker than Delano and Hella, so we were slowly but surely closing up anyway. But, you know, to be able to get that little bit closer, you know, to be able to then see them throughout a lot of the rest of the race was obviously really, really important as well. Then no idea what happened to Delano. He would unfortunately just drop right back after all the pit stops there. So he must have either had a lot of damage or made a couple of mistakes on his in-lap there. But yeah, we will be able to get miles past him. You can see both myself and Hella now miles ahead of him by the time he came out. Well, by the time everyone had made their pit stops here. But yeah, all over the back, though, of Hella in the Ferrari. A little bit of rubber banding going on once more here, so we've got to be a little bit careful that we don't end up getting involved in more sort of weird laggy incidents as well. We do try and get good drive off the exit there on towards this long back straight here. One of the best overtaking chances in towards the hairpin here. But yeah, just really, really struggling to try and have any sort of commitment in his slipstream here. Are we going to be able to have a look down the inside? We're going to certainly try and send it here. Do get the car nicely slowed down by the apex though, and he will leave us a room on the inside. So that is us up into P7 once more then of this race. We've slowly fought our way back through over these last sort of half an hour of this race there, and that was obviously really, really crucial for myself. But the only real thing that we'd have after that there would be one other car just desyncing absolutely massively. I think we just saw him go sent to Narnia through the final couple as he was going through the final couple of corners there. So that would move us up into P6 there. Very, very unfortunate for him with just 13 minutes to go to DC there. But yeah, for me, that was really at the end of the action from the opening race of the GT3 Asian Tour. You know, really quite looking forward to doing the rest of this series here. We would fast forward on to the end of the final lap. I know the position counts being a little bit funny, but we did come through for P6 in the end. We'd actually end up being the last person on the lead lap, and it was very ideal that we were, because we were running out of fuel and we had to basically coast around most of this final lap in the end. So it was a good job that, you know, the guys behind me all got lapped, or I would have certainly dropped down through the order once more there. But through the final couple of corners we go then. It's going to be P7 to P6 in the SRS GT3 Asian Tour there. As I said, I really, really enjoyed that race on the whole. You know, really enjoyable to get back onto Assetto Corsa here. Crew Chief as well obviously makes it a much more enjoyable experience and everything like that. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching this video. Make sure you do like and subscribe if you're new around here as well and you do want to see more of the sort of league racing content from this channel as well. You know, as I said, I'm going to definitely do more of this. I'm looking as well to do the European GT3 Tour as well. I think that is all just European tracks though. That should probably have a lot higher attendance, as well as obviously it's a lot later in the evening. Sort of works out well for the Europeans on SRS, because it is sort of mainly a European platform. I would be tempted to do the US series as well if it didn't start at 3 in the morning. But yeah, hopefully, as I said, you guys have enjoyed. Make sure you like and subscribe if you're new around here, and I will see you guys next time, I think, at the Nordschleife.